A long time ago, the theatre industry thrived, and it was one of the most entertaining events you could go to. Although theatre properly begun in London in the 16th century, it became international, and soon Americans got into the act, making it a full time of enjoyment rather than just a performance-giving pleasure. The idea was to have the theatre experience impeccable from the start, including how the building itself looked. Today's isolated adventure takes place in an old theatre in the middle of England. Over many years of disuse, it has lost the battle against decay and is sitting in a terrible condition. For explorers like us, sometimes heavy amounts of damage is what we like to see, and this place was one of those examples. Although ruined, if you look closely you can see the beautiful remains that have survived for decades. Upon arrival at the once grand site, the building's poor maintenance became apparent immediately. The structure itself stands surprisingly tall but thin, reaching 5 floors. When it was built near the beginning of the 1900s, the exterior walls were a creamy colour, but over time they have lost any vibrancy they had. On this explore we are joined by King of Bongo and NaturalDecay. Be sure to check them both out below. With a tight entry we had made it inside, straight into the huge theatre hall. From the ground level the structure looks relatively disappointing. Random junk and building appliances are scattered over the floor where the seats have been removed. However, looking up you can make out the royal themed decor, now covered in holes where bits of the ceiling have fallen down.
So they put this ugly drop down ceiling and there's a really nice arch up there. Really good architecture, big green arch, and it's just been ruined by this modernness.
In the 1910s, the theatre opened with over 500 seats ready to be filled with eager members of the public. A decade later it was rebuilt after higher demands for more seats, therefore everything was enlarged. Quickly after that it became a cinema and functioned like that for many years. In the 60s it was converted again into a bingo hall which ran until closure in the late 1970s. Ever since then the building has remained vacant for almost 50 years. We didn't think we have ever explored a site that has been abandoned for that long. The extensive levels of damage make sense, but it is sad that in such a long time barely anything has been done to cater for the impressive site. As well as many piles of rubbish we found this Muslim newspaper, which makes sense as the theatre is alongside a mosque, who probably own the battered building. We moved into the reception area, where many years ago people would have paid for tickets for each show, film and bingo game. There was a good amount of stuff left behind, but the issue was we couldn't tell whether it was supposed to be there or was being stored there by someone recently. The floor was covered with clothes and something smelt really bad, so we didn't stay down there for long. Our first discovery on the second floor was the projector room, probably built around the 1930s when the building had uses as a cinema. Sadly, no projector equipment remained. We are still yet to see any in an abandoned building. Mossy decay was prominent on one specific corridor, emphasising the time period of abandonment the building had endured. This window was the first open one we had seen so far, and it reminded us of the freezing cold December temperatures outside. The end of the corridor led us into our main reason for visiting this site. Very old theatre seats sat timelessly on the balcony. In older pictures we had seen of the place, it appeared that all of the seats on the balcony were still there, so maybe over the lengthy months some may have just decayed into the ground or perhaps been stolen. Up here you can get a better idea of the stunning architecture involved in the structure. The colour scheme of red and gold links to the royal treatment guests here would expect for paying such a large fee. As the theatre continues to ruin, it is likely that more of the seats will crumble, perhaps even the balcony itself. We found plenty of signs that the floor beneath us wasn't completely stable. Potentially a harsh weather forecast could bring this place to its end. In the building's surprisingly small male bathroom there was nice tiles that aren't used nowadays. We could even venture above the seats into the roof space, however we didn't spend long up here due to the danger lurking below. As well as the perilous holes in the floor, the beams across the room were also a health hazard. They were there to keep the impressive ceiling upright. That's all the way down to the seats where we just were. Don't want to go near that. At this stage we'd finished the exploration of the site and were ready to exit and move on to our next location of the day. Although hardly anything has gone ahead towards the upkeep of the theatre, planning permission was submitted to change the building into a church. This was submitted in 2009. Therefore, it is very unlikely that the structure will be fixed up due to the level of damage it is undergoing. Only time will tell how long it has left.